How's it going, everybody? It's me, the Wombat, coming at you guys. Got something I want to talk about real quick. Hopefully I won't make this video too long. I did this already, and then I got kind of long-winded, and I was not really putting my thoughts together because I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say, a lot of things that other people had already said. So I'm just going to redo the video that I did and make it real nice and concise. Right off the bat, I don't like Gibson guitars. I had a Gibson guitar when I was younger. It was an SG Junior. I bought it from a friend of mine for 50 bucks. Made a couple adjustments to it. Had it for a while. It played decent. It was, and then I sold it to a friend of mine for 50 bucks, and he doesn't have it anymore. When I first started playing, Gibson had a reputation of making a quality instrument, and they were nice, but they were always really expensive. I had a couple friends who had Gibsons because their parents would buy them Gibsons. Their parents were a little bit better off, and over the years the price of Gibson guitars just like went through the roof, and the quality was getting worse and worse as time went by. I primarily play Squire guitars, Fender Stratocaster style guitars. I have a Jackson. I have 5 Epiphones, and I have well over 20 Squires. Yeah, I've got a few guitars. But I remember, and it's even true now. You go into just about any music store, and you'll notice that the less expensive guitars they put on the bottom, and the next tier is kind of the mid-range price, and then there's a third row. Sometimes there's even a fourth row. Lots of times the Gibsons were kept in the utmost tier of the music store, and you'd have to ask somebody to bring them down. You'd almost have to like sign an affidavit and promise your firstborn if you put as much as a fingerprint on the finish of the guitar. It was really ridiculous. So rather than going through this whole thing, a lot of people would just play the ones that were accessible. Sometimes they were the Squires and the lower end Epiphones at the bottom. Sometimes there are the few $100 Epiphones next to the Fender Stratocasters, usually made in Mexico, like around $300 to $700 range. Usually they kind of go up and down and stuff. So, when I was first started playing, going to a music store, try out a couple of guitars and stuff. Since the Squires were the only ones that I could really reach, that's what I grew accustomed to playing. I've tried playing Gibsons in the past. I go, yeah, it's decent. It just felt weird. It didn't feel natural. And I've noticed too, as I've been looking into things going on with this whole thing, what started all this was there was a guy that came on there on YouTube a couple days ago, and he was talking about playing authentic, and Gibson guitars are authentic guitars, and acting like no other guitar is an authentic guitar. Said we've been a company over 100 years, which is true. They didn't start making electric guitars till the 50s, but they're acting like they have the total lock on electric guitars, which is just ridiculous. And the guy's like, guitar manufacturers, boutique builders, we got our eye on you. It's like, what does that mean, dude? You gonna come shake them down? It's just like, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Rather than Gibson taking the time and finding out why things are not working, why they're having trouble, because they've been having trouble for a long time. Like I said, for starters, you put a price tag on a guitar that is out of the reach for most people, you've cut off a lot of your market share. And you keep doing that too long, people are gonna rebel and go with someone who understands them better. A thing I noticed too is I was looking at old Gibson ads online and stuff, and they used to have this tagline, only a Gibson is good enough. And I had some snobby friends that had Gibsons, like, I don't play that. I only play a Gibson. And you look at all the endorsees that Gibson used to have, and now they're playing with uh, Schecter guitars or ESP or Dean or one of the other ones. And now Gibson is upset by that. So they're going to sue these other manufacturers. These other manufacturers were able to produce a guitar that was more stylized for the artist. I was reading recently about the guy from Mastodon, and his signature guitars were being sent out with a different gauge of string, and people were buying his guitar from Gibson going, how come my guitar doesn't sound like this guy's? And they found out it was the string gauge was like way off, or the setup was way off. And then another thing too was they put out a chambered guitar which was supposed to be lighter, and when you start messing with the wood it starts changing the tone a little bit and stuff. And I guess they talked to him and he says no, he didn't want that, but they did anyways because they're Gibson. That's what they do. They do what they want to do, and then they complain later. But you look at all these people that they used to endorse. I know for a while Nikki Sixx was playing Gibson Thunderbird basses. Now he's playing Schecter. Why? Because Schecter made some changes in the bass that make it play better for his needs. I remember Metallica. Both James and Kurt used to play Gibson. Now they play ESP. You know, it just goes without saying, if you don't listen to the people you're trying to reach, the people in your market share, you are going to lose business. I'm surprised that Gibson is still in business. They made a lot of stupid mistakes. They've been bankrupt quite a few times actually. And there's been a few people they brought in. They resurrected the company, made it really good. One guy was Ted McCarty. They brought him on board in, I don't remember what year, like 54, 56, somewhere in that year. When he was on staff, they were losing money. They brought him in, and first 2 months they were still losing money. Third month they started making money. They made money consistently, and were making a profit until he retired in like the mid to late 60s. And a lot of designs that he came up with during that time as president of Gibson have been accredited to Les Paul and other people and stuff when McCarty came out with these ideas. Years later, Paul Reed Smith made friends with Mr. McCarty, and Mr. McCarty worked with Paul Reed Smith, and some of the designs that he'd already been working on, they put into the Paul Reed Smith guitars. And I heard once, I may be wrong on this, but I heard that PRS actually made guitars that McCarty wanted, how he wanted them to be made originally. Gibson would do some of it, but then they kind of cut corners and stuff. And they've been cutting corners for years and years, and it's just their quality has gone down. Their quality has gotten so bad that their other line, their more affordable knockoff line, Epiphone, has a better reputation than Gibson. It'd be funny if Epiphone turns around and buys Gibson. That would be funny. That'd be classic. But I don't know what's going to happen with Gibson. You know, they keep doing stupid things. Like I said, they don't listen to the artists who are out there in the field using their tools. Another thing they did was the Robo-Tune guitar, the robotic tuner, where it made sure your guitar was in pitch. One of the things about playing a guitar is you have to learn what it's all about. You have to learn what the strings sound like, when they sound like when they're in tune, when they're out of tune, and you make adjustments. You develop your ear. You learn to play things. Sometimes you get together with your friends and you play something that's in, say, drop D tuning. You adjust it. But will the Robo-Tuners allow that? I don't think so. You might have had to plug in a USB cable to your guitar and computer and download a patch. I don't know. I just heard it would like keep it in standard tuning. That's what I've heard. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I mean, a lot of guys that I listen to and a lot of things that I play, I will tune down to E flat. And if it's designed to be in concert pitch all the time, E flat's not Not going to work unless you do a patch. And then what happens if the batteries die? The thing won't won't tune up anymore. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But like I said, I've only owned one Gibson my whole life. I own five Epiphones, and I own over 30 Squire style guitars. They work for me. They play well. The only thing I've really done on the Squires, most of them, is I'll change the pickups for something a little bit better quality, or change the switching rather than having the 5-way switch. I'll put individual switches, and that's pretty much it. As far as the Epiphones, um, usually change the tuners, usually change the nut, you almost always change the bridge. And that was one of the complaints I saw about Gibson. It's like, why am I going to buy this guitar that's like $3,000 to $5,000 when I'm just going to have to change all these components as soon as I get it to make it playable? And you hear stuff like that, and you're like, what are you guys doing? Come on, Gibson, get it together. Make a guitar that people want, make a guitar that people can afford, and you'll do all right. But instead, you got to alienate people from you. You got to have a snobby attitude, and then you got to get this mobster guy that says, "Hey, guitar builders, we're coming for you. You better watch your back." And it's like, you're not making any friends that way. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people burn their Gibson guitars or just give them to charity or something. Like, I'm done with this company. You know, I know this is a rant. I usually talk nice about people and places, but Gibson, you guys have done it to yourself. You shot yourself in the foot with the robo tuners and getting this guy to represent you. Hopefully, you can pull it around and be successful and get many more years. But I know, the internet right now is flooded with forums, YouTube videos, you name it, saying, "What is Gibson doing?" Because remember, only a Gibson is good enough. That's why I play Squires. All right, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for checking this out. As time goes on, I'll be making more videos and doing reviews and stuff, and I'll start showing off some of the things that I've done to my Epiphone guitars to make them playable, and what you can do to your guitars. Even if you have a Gibson, you can learn how to make adjustments from the Epiphone, because the Epiphone is a much better guitar than the Gibson. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.